Namaste. Today we are going to do some pretty intense twist. We're going to prelude these postures of Bharadvajasana, Bharadvajasana 2, Pasana, and Ardha Matsyndrasana pose with some prep poses. I'm trying to make the shapes of these poses before we go into them. We're starting out with laying on the back. Arms can come out into a big T, so the hands are palm facing up or down, whichever feels good for your shoulders at the moment. Bring the knees in towards your chest. And very simply just using the breath, we're going to focus on holding the knees together, so working the inner thighs, the adductors, to gain some strength on the inner thighs and to open up the outer hips. So shins, inner heels, and ankles together. Take a deep breath in. And we're just going to drop the knees off over to the right. And they don't even have to go all of the way down. And then inhale them back up to center. And exhale over to the left. And so we're going to do 3 more of these and using the breath as a guide. So inhaling up, exhaling over to the side. Feel your side body lengthen. So we're getting into this nice latissimus dorsi muscle that runs, back muscle that runs from the armpit to the tailbone. And using the breath, so encouraging the shoulders to stay flat onto the ground, working through the abdominals. So even through the oblique abdominals in the front of the body, in that they connect from the hip up underneath the rib cage, so feeling how the belly draws in slightly. Good. As you breathe in and out. Last one as you inhale to come up. Then another variation of this is to keep the feet off of the floor, knees drawn in towards the chest, and then shins are parallel towards the ceiling. Good. And we're even going to use the wall here for a moment. If you have a wall close by, let the feet press into the wall, but keep the knees at least at a 90-degree angle. The legs at a 90-degree angle. So we start out flat on the back. You're going to inhale to come up and reach chest and arms to the outside of the left leg. Good. Exhale to come down. Inhale to come up, drawing the navel in. Good. And then exhale, coming back down. Let's see if we can do a total of 3 of those. Taking your time and feeling that twist of how your armpit, your upper arm gets to the outside. So you're creating a shape. Good. One more. Inhaling. Navel comes in, lumbar spine lifts slightly, trying to keep that curve, open the chest. Beautiful. One more on this side. Good. And then come back and rest for a moment. Go back to taking the arms out into a big T. So these are just some postures you can play with, and these are just a few warm-ups in order to create these the shape of the poses we're going to do. So now you take the feet flat onto the floor, and we're going to do a good old basic spinal twist. So picking up the hips, shimmying them off over to the left, cross your left thigh over your right. Good. Draw the knees up and in towards the chest, and then drop the knees off over to your right. And again, focus on the spine. See if you can bring your awareness to the center of the body, from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Feel the broadness of the shoulder blades. And as you take a few breaths here, just feel that twisting action that happens in the torso. just a little bit above the navel. And then once again, feel the softness of the front lower ribs drawing into the body to help support the length of the spine and the back body. And then inhale back up to center. And then uncross. Shimmy the hips over to the right. Cross right thigh over left. Inhaling the knees in towards your chest. Use the exhale to drop over. And again, we're lengthening. Take your awareness in from that armpit, from your tailbone, wherever you begin to feel this posture in your body, the back muscles, and then let the abdominals soften in to the body, using a little bit of the Mula Bandha, more so of the Uddiyana Bandha at the navel center. It draws in and back towards those back ribs. And start to feel these bandhas that help guide that energy towards the spine for movement, for strength, and that the outer layers of the bodies start to relax. Inhale back up to center. And then draw the knees in towards your chest, uncross and draw the knees in towards your chest. And then wrap your arms around your knees and really kind of hug in tight and feel that relationship of how close the knees and the armpits get. And then again, the navel lock. The navel draws back and towards the back upper ribs. Feel that relationship for a couple of breaths. And then roll over onto your right side. Make your way to sitting. And then you're going to come and sit in Bharadvajasana, which is sitting back onto the heels. So sitting on your heels. And if you need to, you can put a blanket underneath your ankles, put a blanket underneath your shins. But taking a couple more breaths here, you're just going to inhale. On your exhale, just slide your buttocks to sit on the outside of both feet to the right. So you pick up the buttocks and slide, just creating that shape. And then come back to center, sit back on the heels, just testing out the hips of what they feel like, and then drop the hips off over to the left side. Good. And then back to center, maybe one more time on each side. Feel the hips start to drop that left hip down just a little bit, lengthening up. Good. Inhale one more time, back up. And then back over to the other side. Good. So for Bharadvajasana, which means the trunk turns in a spiraling movement from the hips. It's a name of a sage. So maybe we can turn and face sideways so that you can see the positioning of the feet. So in this, she's going to sit off to her right side, and then her left foot is going to come on top of the arch of her right foot. So there we go. And then the top of the right foot rolls more to the ground. Good. She's grabbing a blanket to place underneath the right hip just to create some balance. And as you sit for a couple of moments here, you could just sit and just allow that left hip to feel like it's melting down towards the floor. So the action would come from letting go. Now she's going to take a deep breath in, and she's going to twist to her right, moving away from the legs. Excellent. And if you can, she's got her left hand onto her right knee, right hand behind the back. Good. The right hand can move as close to the spine as you can, just to get the spine to lengthen. Excellent. It serves like a little prop like we would for a tree to help prop the tree up to elongate. Excellent. If you can, we work towards turning that the left palm towards the floor and slide the fingers underneath the right thigh. And as you push down into that hand, then you can bring the chest around more forward. Excellent. And we start to navigate that right arm behind the block to where it starts to clasp. It starts to clasp the left upper arm. Good. She's going to grab her strap to help get that connection. And as the elbow, so you notice most of the time as our elbow's further out and away from the body, just bringing that elbow in will challenge the upper arm bone to move out. So we're using that long levered bone of the humerus for elbow to draw in so the upper arm can move out. Taking a few breaths, softening the front ribs in towards the back body, and then gently gazing over the left shoulder. Beautiful. And sit and breathe. Excellent. And then so she's going to inhale and exhale to release. And we'll switch sides. But on this side, we will move into Bharadvajasana 2. Still the name of the sage, and we're still anchoring. The legs are anchored, allowing the hips and the trunk to turn strongly. So on this side, she's going to sit to the outside of her feet. The top left leg, so the right leg is going to be on the floor. The left leg is going to come up onto the top of her right thigh. So that foot, comes up onto the top of her right thigh, resting in the groin crease. Excellent. And then once again, we're going to twist, turning away from the foot, taking a deep breath in and twisting to the left. Excellent. And then grabbing the strap once again, take the strap around the foot, let the left arm reach behind the back, to work its way towards the foot. And then again, using that seesaw or teeter-tottering principle that the elbow moves in so that the head of the arm bone at the shoulder begins to draw out, broadening through the collarbones, yes. And the more that we work the forearm towards the back, to sit closer onto the back, and then the elbow to draw in, that helps to expand the chest. And twisting. Beautiful. So as you sit and explore in this posture with the breath, the front ribs draw in to move back into softening into the kidneys and the adrenals. The chest opens. The navel also helps to support the chest, the heart, as it opens up. So broadness of the collarbones. She's gazing nicely over the right shoulder. Nowhere else to go in this posture but to breathe and allow yourselves to have an experience of how do we let go of something here? How do we soften? How do we let go of the struggle, the push, the I'm going to force my way through it, instead of allowing the breath to soften, make us more fluid-like, and strength in that fluidness. So things soften to let go, connecting as the navel draws in, maybe even adding a little bit of the mula band, the floor of the perineum, lightly drawing up. Closer to the spine and releasing in the outer body. Excellent. And then inhale to come up and out. We're going to switch sides once again, so she's going to turn and face the other direction. We're going to move into Ardha Matsyndrasana. This Ardha means half. Matsyndrasana is Lord of the Fishes, which is the first teacher of yoga to mankind. This can be a complicated twist, combining a strong turn with a balance. And so most of the time you see this pose sitting on the heel. And why you would sit on the heel, which is a very tender area, because the heel comes right into the middle of the perineum. These muscles are very tender. They're not used to being poked and provoked, but it also helps to increase the awareness to the mula band and these organs of elimination and creation. So really getting into these muscles of the pelvic floor, creating a lift up off of the heel. If that is not accessible to you, we sit off, the foot comes to the outside of the hip. So we'll demonstrate that today. So we're going to sit with the left knee bent and the foot beside the hip. The foot beside the hip, or this is the heel that you can sit on. So you can slide the heel underneath, and then to help protect that foot, a blanket can come underneath the top of the foot. You're going to bend the right knee and take that right foot to the outside of the left thigh. You can inhale the arms up overhead, get nice and tall, and then we're going to twist to our right, taking that left elbow to the outside of the right knee, bending at the elbow, letting the palm come up towards the ceiling, and then the right hand comes behind the back. And as you, again, take, the hips are facing forward, so the twist happens above the navel into those oblique abdominals, and finding how from that left hip over underneath that right rib cage to soften at a diagonal to come across the body, to broaden in the chest. The right hand, if it just moves closer to the buttocks so that the arm begins to support the spine like a nice prop. And then inhale and exhale. And again, come a little bit closer. Feel your intention, your awareness get closer to the spine, from the tailbone to the crown of the head, so that as you breathe, the outer body gets a little bit softer, pliable, more fluid-like in its strength. Now that right foot is pressing nicely into the floor as if it was standing onto the ground. Good. And as it stands a little bit more completely onto the ground, that right thigh draws in, and we continue our twist. Excellent. Take a deep breath in and exhale to release. And then we're going to move into Pasana. So these poses we kind of alternated and did on each side, but you certainly move from and do equally on both sides. So Pasana means a noose. We kind of bind the body up by wrapping our arms around the legs. So we come into a squat. If your squat is challenged, we've placed a blanket under the heels to bring the heels up off of the ground, but to give the heels a place to touch. When the heels have a place to touch, it calms the nervous system. And so we're going to begin like we did in the prep pose. You lengthen the spine, Get nice and tall. Feel the heels press. Lengthen through the side body and bring the left shoulder, both arms around to the outside of that right thigh. And this can be challenging in itself. So if you can use blocks underneath the hands to lift the chest. Good. Keep lengthening the spine and grounding down into the feet. Now you can bend the left elbow, bring the hand up by the shoulder, and then keep the right hand behind your back. Good. And so it begins to create that posture of the armpit coming closer to the knee, left armpit closer to the knee. Good. She's propping herself up a little bit higher. And so that this, palms are together just to get the open. This is very balance challenging. So she's bringing the palms of her hands together, and as you press the palms, open the chest and lean a little bit more into the back body. Beautiful. And then release. We can do the other side on this side. She's standing up into Uttanasana just to lengthen everything out. Good. Maybe turn around, carry to go in the opposite direction. So you can see how some of those prep poses, spend some time in the prep poses that we did on your back, just feeling that twisting action in the navel and the bending of the knees and towards your chest. Find a little play with that. And so she's going to twist once again. Both hands come to the outside of the thigh. And if you just stay here in this posture, just to get the spine to elongate. I'm going to bring her a couple of blocks she can play with. Placing the hands onto the blocks so she can really feel the lift of the chest, the lengthening of the spine. Good, 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 good. Bringing that right shoulder around, feeling how that right shoulder gets closer to the armpit, closer to the armpit. And you can see how we just want to play with the shape. We would ultimately bring that right hand, tuck it underneath the shins, bring it up behind the back, and then the left arm, both hands would reach behind the back to clasp. But this is a perfectly fine place to stay. Now that she's got her right arm in front of the thigh, she can bring her left arm, if she likes, the left arm behind her back, to reach and grab her thigh. Excellent. And then once again, lifting up the breastbone towards the chin, tailbone descends down, navel draws in and back, and playing a little bit with the bandhas, the mula bandha lifting the floor of the perineum, up towards the navel, meeting the navel as it draws back. Take a few breaths. Keep creating. Find your softness. Awareness creates the action. And then when you're ready, inhale to come out. And unwinding and then stretching out the legs. Uttanasana or Paschimottanasana, a forward bend, might feel pretty good here. And move into the breath. These are challenging poses, so take your times. The benefits of twisting to detoxicate, massaging the internal organs, opening up the chest, opening up the breath. Breath challenging, so the breath just finds its way in. Stay in the contentment of your breath, whether it's short or shallow, until it begins to expand. Thank you so much. Namaste.